Well, hello there. It's great to see you again. Welcome to another edition of the Ezra File, and indeed a new series in the Ezra File. We're beginning a new series, and we're going to call this series Roadmaps to the Present. Now, I realize that some of you say, well, hang on, I thought you were doing a series on the Creed. And so I was. And we will come back to that. We'll kind of hop out, in and out, I think, probably between this new series, Roadmaps to the Present, and my other series, the other series on the Creed. So anyway, this is the start of another new series, Roadmaps to the Present. What's it all about? Well, Roadmaps to the Present is trying to understand and explain why it's so difficult to be a Christian in today's society. I became a Christian back in the early 1980s, and I kind of assumed that everybody, that Britain rather, was a Christian country, and that being a Christian was basically just a matter of taking something that I already knew, from school or Sunday school, taking that and just taking it a little bit more seriously than I had done before. I kind of assumed that everything around me was a Christian country. Well, in the intervening nearly 40 years now, I've been thoroughly disabused of that understanding. What I've seen in nearly 40 years is a continual decline in the number of people in this country who describe themselves as Christians. I've seen in 25 years of ordained ministry how difficult it is for people to take on board the Christian faith. I have seen many people become Christians, but I've seen many, many more who have slipped away, turned away, or just been completely disinterested. And that is interesting to me, because over the same nearly 40 years, I have met many Christians from other countries. And I've listened to them, I've studied with them, I've talked with them. And if you look at the rest of the world, Christianity as a global faith is increasing year by year. Well, almost wherever you go, even in formerly atheistic countries like Russia, for example, Christianity is growing. And even in the most brutally repressive regimes like the People's Republic of China, the Christian church is now growing. Wherever you look in the world, South America, Central America, Africa, you see the same pattern. The Christian church is growing. Even in North America, you see large parts of the Christian church continuing to grow in health and in vigor. But you come here, you come to Britain, you come to the Western European countries, and Christianity is in full-scale retreat, you might even say. And so I've tried to ask myself over the years why that is so. And of course, there are many reasons you could give. You could just say, well, just people have just turned away, they've lost interest, and they just have no more time for it. You could say, well, maybe this is God's judgment, God's heavy hand of judgment has come upon us, and people are just leaving the faith because of that. And those questions are fine, those questions are okay, but you have to also ask, well, how has it happened the way it's happened? And why has it happened exactly the way that it's happened? And as I've looked at those questions for myself over the last 40 years, I've come to the conclusion that the biggest barrier that there is for people to adopt the Christian faith in our society today is our culture. It is culturally extremely difficult for a person who has been born and brought up in Western European culture to actually come to adopt the Christian faith for themselves in an explicit way. Culture. Think about if you want to understand the influence of culture, think about a fish. What does a fish do? A fish swims in the sea, or it swims in a body of water. And that body of water exerts an immense influence on the fish. That body of water, how much oxygen is present in the body of water? How much food is present in the body of water? How much pollution is present in the body of water? All of those things influence the fish hugely. The fish may not be aware of them, necessarily. It may not be aware of the influences of the water on the fish itself, but nevertheless, the influence of the water on the fish is huge. And it's like that with culture. Our culture is a massive influence on us. And we may not always realize its influence, but it has a huge and formative influence on us. I have two tests that I apply, two tests that reveal our culture, two tests that reveal our culture as it relates to Christianity. Two tests. Number one, the first test I call the pub test. The second test I've called the identity test. The pub test, it goes like this. I go into a pub on Monday evening, and I could say, I've just come to tell you that 2 and 2 equals 4. And people there will say, well done, Vicar. That's right, 2 and 2 equals 4. You must have got O-level maths, eh? So I come back the next night, Tuesday night, and I said, I've just come to tell you that Paris is the capital of France. And they said, well done, Vicar. You've got your facts straight. And then I come back on Wednesday night, and I said, I've just come to tell you that Jesus Christ has been raised from the dead. And they will turn around to me and they will say, Vicar, but that's just your opinion. And there you have a large part of our culture revealed to you. On the one hand, we have things called facts, like 2 and 2, like Paris, capital of France. We have facts, and those facts are the same for everybody. However, over against a world of facts, we also have a world of beliefs, a world of values, a world of religion. And anything in that world is voluntary. It's optional. It's relative. It's relative to the individual. We have facts that are absolute, and we have values, beliefs, of the whole world of religion, of meaning, of purpose, which are voluntary, which are relative. And those two worlds don't touch one another. They're completely separate worlds. So that's the pub test, a world of beliefs, values that are totally divorced from a world of facts. And the second test is what I call the identity test. And the identity test goes like this. I'm a woman in the body of a man. I'm a woman in the body of a man. I'm a woman, identity, meaning, and purpose. But that identity, that meaning, that purpose has no basis in any facts, any biological facts about my body. A world of meaning, a world of purpose, a world of belief, totally separated from a world of facts, a world of physical reality. And our culture, revealed by those two tests, is completely unique in the world. How did we get to that stage? How have we come to be like that? Well, over these next few videos, we're going to look at some roadmaps which try to trace how we have ended up in the position that we have today, and how that position, that cultural place that we now find ourselves in, how that affects Christianity. We're going to look at some roadmaps drawn by three individuals. Some of these names will be familiar to you. The first map that we're going to look at, we're going to look at some of the work of this guy here, Francis Schaeffer. Those of you who are long-term viewers of the Ezra file will know Francis Schaeffer. We've looked at his life and his work in a little bit of detail. We're going to revisit that as we go through again. The second roadmap that we're going to look at is the roadmap drawn by that guy there, Leslie Newbigin. And again, if you're a regular viewer of the Ezra file, you'll know Leslie Newbigin very well, because again, we've looked at his life and his work in a little bit of detail. And the third roadmap that we're going to look at, another episode, if you like, is drawn by this guy here. He's called Charles Taylor. Charles Taylor is a scholar, he's a Canadian scholar, and we're going to look at a book that he wrote called The Secular Age, where he draws out a roadmap as to how we've ended up at the cultural place we now find ourselves in. If you look at those three, not exactly three old paintings, are they? They're all old men. In fact, two of them have died. Leslie Newbigin and Francis Schaeffer are no longer with us, sadly. They're three old men. And actually, I make no apologies for that, because I think the things that we are looking at, maybe they only come to us with the wisdom of age. Maybe it takes the wisdom of age to tease out the cultural story, the cultural influences on us as Christians, to tease out why these things make it so difficult for people brought up in modern society to embrace the Christian faith. So those are the three roadmaps that we're going to look at over the next 3 episodes. And then we're going to ask, well, what are we going to do about it? How can we bear witness to Jesus Christ and to our faith in the culture, in the society in which we find ourselves today? And those 2 tests that I talked about, the pub test and the identity test, we need to be under no illusions that these are like arrows pointed at the heart of the Christian faith. If you look at what is our faith based on, how does our faith work? Well, our faith as Christians is based on facts. It's based on events that actually happened. There you go. I've put up a slide there, 1 Corinthians 15, some verses from St. Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, where he says this: "For what I received, I passed on to you as of the first importance, that Christ died for our sins, according to the Scriptures, that he was buried, that he was raised on the 3rd day, according to the Scriptures." So there's St. Paul saying, what is our faith built on? Our faith is built on Jesus' death, historical fact. It's based on his burial, historical fact. And it's based on his resurrection. And that is, says St. Paul, a historical fact. The facts of history point to a transcendent meaning and purpose, an act of God in history to raise Jesus Christ from the dead. And the facts of history and their theological meaning, their understanding of God's work in the world, cannot be separated from one another. St. Paul also says this in 1 Corinthians 15, "If Christ has not been raised, your faith is worthless, and you are still in your sins." The transcendent meaning and understanding of the resurrection of Jesus Christ goes hand in hand with its historic happenedness. The event, the historical fact of the resurrection goes hand in hand with its theological meaning, the purpose from which Christianity draws itself. The pub test tells us that our culture separates those 2 things out completely. That you can have a world of meaning, you can have a world of purpose, but it doesn't relate at all to any facts, any historical events. Whereas Christianity is based on the understanding the 2 go together. Can't have the theological significance, the meaning, the purpose of the resurrection without the resurrection as an event in history. And also, if you look at the identity test, I'm a woman stuck in a man's body. Well, what does the Bible say? How does the Bible understand those things? Well, let's go back to the very beginning. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. "So God created humans in his image. In the image of God, he created them. He created them, male and female. Biological reality of male and female carries with it transcendent meaning and significance. God's work in history to create man and woman ties together the biological facts with a meaning and a significance and a purpose for human beings. They are created in the image of God. And again, we can go on, we can read on in Genesis. If you just read on just a little bit further. So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth. See there? There's a moral purpose for human beings. God blessed them and told them to come together, to procreate, and to fill the earth. The facts of the human body, the facts of biology, carry with them transcendent meaning and significance, a transcendent moral purpose for human beings. I'm a woman stuck in the body of a man, separates out issues of identity, of meaning, of purpose, completely from the biological facts of the human body. But the Bible, Christianity, brings them both together. And as I said, the identity test and the pub test show that modern Western culture is like an arrow pointed at the heart of Christianity. If you think about Christianity, if you think about the Bible, we've quoted from the Bible as we've looked at the identity test and the pub test. Think for a moment about how does the Bible function in Christianity? What's the purpose of having the Bible? Why did God give the Bible in the first place, if you like? Well, you might say, well, hang on, the Bible is a book about religion. Well, that's true. It does contain religion, the Bible. It does tell you how to pray. It tells you how to fast. In the Old Testament, it tells you how to perform various sacrifices. In the New Testament, there's instructions on how to do Holy Communion. So there's a bit of religion in the Bible, that's true. But it's more than that. You might say, well, the Bible is a book of morality. And again, that's kind of true because there are moral rules in the Bible. There are 10 of them that are very important that Judaism shares with Christianity. That is true, but it's more than that. If you want to understand the Bible and its role in Christianity, the Bible functions as a world view. The Bible functions as something that when you read it, when you study it, gives you a picture of life, the universe, and everything. It gives you an understanding of God, gives you an understanding of yourself as a human being, and what your role and your purposes are in this world under God. The Bible, Christianity, at bottom, is a worldview. It's an understanding of life, the universe, and everything. And to prepare the way for the rest of this series, I do need to just run through with you a couple of bits about a biblical worldview, two foundations for a biblical worldview, two foundations that will help you to understand the Bible's approach to life, the universe, and everything. The first foundation is there in the very first verse of the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The Bible distinguishes two things. The most fundamental distinction in the Bible is between, on the one hand, the Creator, and on the other hand, the creation. The Creator and the creation. They are two different things. They are distinct from one another. The Creator, God, the source of transcendent meaning, significant purpose, moral values, truth, transcendent reality. Creation, the natural world, the world of facts, the world that science understands, the world of historical events. That's the most fundamental distinction in the Bible. But those two things, they are distinct, but they are not separate from one another. They're not two different worlds. The two, the creator and the creation, belong together. In St. Paul's letter to the Romans, Romans chapter 1, verse 20, St. Paul says this, "For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they, human beings, are without excuse." Paul says, if you look at the world, if you look at the world of facts, if you look at the world of historical events, they will lead you to the world of God, the world of transcendent value, meaning, significance, and purpose. Transcendent values of right and wrong, truth and error, of meaning, of purpose, have an objective meaning. There is such a thing as objective truth. Those two things belong together. What our culture separates out, Bible brings together and places at the foundation of how it understands life, the universe, and everything. Now, you might say, well, hang on, John, this is all very good for theological college and all that, but it's a bit abstract, isn't it? It's a bit removed from life. Well, I want to say to you, no, not really. These ideas, the ideas that we've explored from the pub test and the identity test, they are all around us. Just like the water exerts an influence on the fish, so these ideas of our culture exert an influence on every person who is brought up in our culture. And they have exerted such an influence that people even write songs about them. You can trace their presence. You can trace the presence of our culture, the cultural ideas that make our culture what it is. You can trace them in the songs that people sing, the music that people listen to. And after all, what is more influential on somebody than the music and the songs that they sing? And here's I've put up there on the screen. This is my favorite band, Rush. It's a song from 1991. It's called Roll the Bones. And Roll the Bones illustrates, I think, very clearly the pub test. Here are some lyrics. There are some lyrics from Roll the Bones. We come into the world and take our chances. Fate is just the weight of circumstances. That's the way that Lady Luck dances. Roll the bones. The world of meaning, of significance, of purpose. Who am I as a human being? What am I here for? What is life about? Meaning, significance, and purpose. It has no objective reality, says those words. It's just chance. It's just the way that Lady Luck dances. There is no absolute basis for meaning, significance, and purpose in life. The pub test. But that's just your opinion. And in the song, Rush are a prog rock, heavy rock band. But in this song, they break into rap. And the rap section goes like this. It goes, Jack, relax, get busy with the facts. No zodiacs or almanacs, no maniacs in polyester slacks, just the facts. It's action, reaction, random interaction. So who's afraid of a little abstraction? A fact's a fact, from Nome to Rome, boy. There are facts in this world. They don't carry any meaning or purpose. They are just facts. Roll the bones, like the pub test tells us. There's the world of meaning, purpose, and significance that has no objective basis in facts or historical events at all. The world of facts, the world of historical events, the world of physical reality carries with it no transcendent meaning, significance, or purpose. There you go. Their album Roll the Bones sold over 1 million copies in America. I think it went silver in this country as well. But it's not just the pub test. It's not just Rush. If you want the identity test, let me take you back to 1970. The Kinks, Lola. We think about that sort of period, the 60s and the beginning of the 70s, and you might think about, well, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, but I think these guys were every bit as important as the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. The music of the Kinks, and one of their most famous songs is the song called Lola. And Lola, well, you can see the identity test in Lola. And if I can get my other laptop up, I'll read you some of the works, some of the lyrics from Lola. Here's how it starts. I met her in a club in Old Soho, where you drink champagne and it tastes just like Coca-Cola. C-O-L-A Cola. Things aren't quite what they seem. She walked up to me and she asked me to dance. I asked her her name, and in a dark brown voice, she said Lola. L-O-L-A, Lola. How did a nice girl like you get a dark brown voice like that, eh? And the song goes on, and it ends like this. Well, I'm not the world's most masculine man, but I know where I am, and I'm glad I'm a man. And so is Lola. Somewhat elliptical at the end, but you see what they're saying, don't you? I'm a woman stuck in a man's body. And that was 1970. Stretch forward a little bit further to 1974, the Rebel Rebel by the great David Bowie. This song begins, you've got your mother in a whirl, 'cause she's not sure if you're a boy or a girl. Gender fluidity. David Bowie, 40 odd years ago, saw it coming. What's the rebellion in Rebel Rebel? Well, part of it is a rebellion against biological sex, a rebellion against gender. What the Kinks referred to somewhat elliptically. What Bowie saw coming has now become a tsunami-like force that is crashing through our public institutions and our education system. And it's become a demand for civil and legal rights, an unstoppable force. That's our culture. That's the influence that it has on us. A culture that has separated out transcendent meaning, purpose, and value from any objective basis in facts. It says that there are facts that everybody can know, but they carry with them no meaning, no purpose, no transcendent value. So how have we got here? And most importantly, how can we respond as Christians? If we want to see the Christian church reverse the decline and begin to bear a faithful and effective witness to Jesus Christ, we need to understand the roadmap that has brought us to this point, and we need to find a roadmap that will take us out. And over the next few Ezra files, that's what we're going to do. Be seeing you.